every parent's worst nightmare, a kid that goes missing. All that right here on Gun Talk Hunt.
Hey, I'm KJ, dedicated lifelong hunter here. If you got an interest in all things hunting, you're in the right spot. Whether chasing quail across the plains of Oklahoma or in pursuit of elk in the backcountry of British Columbia, you'll always find me on the hunt.
This episode is brought to you by Ruger, Range Ready, Savage, Franchi, CZ USA, and SnapSafe.
All right, welcome in Gun Talk Hunters. I'm your host, KJ, and for Halloween, we've got a very spooky, real story that happened to my cohort over here, Jett Jarnagin. This is my son, 16 years old. Welcome in.
What's up?
Just what's up. That's all you got for me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Are you almost in that teenage years that you don't really want to talk to me?
I'm in those teenage years, Dad.
Okay, perfect. Well, every season we go out youth hunting. Last year you weren't able to make it with us because you had
Homecoming.
You had other commitments. This year was this is your first year like hunting alone. What's that like?
Honestly, I love it a lot. Like, honestly, just being out there in the field and just being out there watching game and eventually shooting it. I love it. Like, I love hunting by myself. It's nice and serene. I get just a break from normal life.
Everybody like talking to you, and it's a time to reflect and just kind of relax, right?
Yeah, just a little bit.
So this year you're hunting with your new Christensen Arms Ridgeline FFT.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely adore it. Like, it's a gun. It's not only the first gun that I can truly call my own, but it also shoots like nice. And I shot 600 yards with it over the weekend. Last weekend.
Yeah.
Last weekend.
2 weeks ago.
Because like I got the night before we shot, I had no sleep. Mainly because of band. Yeah.
Oh.
Because of band.
That's true.
I wasn't able to sleep at all, but when I shot, I still shot, I should say, decently. Yeah.
You shot really well. I think you shot really well, and to hit 600 yards in the setup that I had was really good. So you were using kind of a 2 tripod system and kind of shooting seated and hitting 600 yards very consistently with your rifle. And then on that gun, we put you a new Burris Veracity PH optic on it, which I'm absolutely in love with.
I love it too.
So what do you like about the Veracity PH?
Well, it's very easy to track where your game is, how far it is away, because it has like a little tracker. Like, it could just say how much it is and how
So
far
that's like a heads-up display.
A heads-up display, yes, that's what I meant.
So because we got to use it a little bit, and you're getting used to it. You know, this is a rifle that you're going to be able to grow with. But as far as like optic and the clarity of it, how did you feel this past weekend hunting?
It was very clear. I mean, I didn't shoot much, as you'll learn later on. I didn't shoot much, but I still aimed in, and I still aimed in on game that was there, making sure that I could shoot them.
Yeah.
And I could probably I could have made a few good shots.
So how cool is it for the dial system and everything?
The dial system, it's nice. I really like it.
The heads-up display. So what the Veracity PH really is, and why it is really good for youth hunters, I think, is it tells you like exactly how far like to dial. So like when you're looking through that optic and you start cranking up the dial, like if you're out to 200 yards, 207 yards, whatever it might be, you can just start dialing until you see it hit 207. And it's pretty much spot on. You put in your correct data and it is awesome.
Yeah.
So anything else you want to add about the optic?
Not really. You pretty much got it spot on everything.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to start setting up the story from my point of view, and then I'm going to get to a point where you're going to take over. And this is, being his first season of hunting by himself, there's a lot of new information that you've got to process.
Right. Yeah.
And it's hard too. It's hard because you've got to make sure you're paying attention to the wind. You're making sure what the other animals are doing around the feeder or anything like that. Like, you're really having to pay attention a lot. Walking in by yourself, like, that's a new thing. Carrying you've carried the gun before by yourself, but now you're carrying your pack. You're carrying all your gear. So there's a lot that I haven't let him do. Like, I haven't let you do all this stuff by yourself. Very short little stints, because there's a lot that goes into it. And sometimes I think we overwhelm our young hunters by going, well, here you go, head out and learn. But you've had a few years with me. You've had a lot of years with me, actually. You've been killing deer quite a while, even when I haven't been able to. So I'm going to start the story. But first, we're going to jump in here with a word from our sponsors, and we're going to hear what they have to say. But after this, life lessons and a very scary story from my point of view.
Unmatched precision with the Ruger American Gen 2. In the heart of the wilderness, precision matters. Ruger introduces the American Gen 2 rifle. Designed for hunters who demand excellence, the Ruger American Gen 2 offers enhanced accuracy, smooth bolt action, and durable design. It's the perfect companion for any hunting expedition, providing reliable performance every time you pull the trigger. Trust the Ruger American Gen 2 to deliver when it counts. Visit Ruger.com to learn more and find your next hunting rifle. It's time to prepare for the shot of a lifetime. Whether you're a seasoned hunter or new to the sport, preparation is key. I preach it all the time. At Range Ready Studios, we offer the training you need to make that shot of a lifetime. Chris Serino is on staff, and he has a host of instructors on hand to provide personalized trainings in state-of-the-art facilities and practical exercises that build your confidence and skills. From precision marksmanship to quick target acquisition, we've got you covered. Don't leave your success to chance. Visit rangereadystudios.com to learn more. In the backcountry, every ounce counts. When the hunt takes you to the extremes, the Savage Ultralight Elite is built to go the distance. Featuring a carbon fiber wrapped barrel and an MDT HNT 26 stock for perfect balance. The Ultralight Elite is engineered for hunters who demand performance at the highest elevations. Precision, power, all in a rifle weighing under 6 pounds. The Savage Ultralight Elite, designed for the backcountry, built for the hunt. When precision meets innovation, you get the Franchi Momentum, a rifle built for those who demand more from their hunt. Designed for ultimate comfort with its ergonomic stock, precision barrel, and crisp trigger pull, the Franchi Momentum gives you the confidence to take that perfect shot. Hunt with momentum, the Franchi Momentum, a new force and precision. Find yours at franchiusa.com. For the reloader who demands precision, there's only one name, the RCBS Rock Chucker. Built with heavy-duty cast iron frame, the Rock Chucker delivers smooth, reliable reloading for every shot, every time. Whether you're crafting for competition or fine-tuning for the hunt, trust the press that delivers precision. RCBS Rock Chucker, because perfection isn't just a goal, it's a process. Get yours at rcbs.com and reload with confidence.
All right, we're back. Do you need a drink or anything? Like,
I'm good.
Wet the whistle.
I'm good, yeah.
Before we really start talking and sharing. Okay, so the night started like any other night. I dropped Jett off first. I said, all right. I had him download the Onyx app. I sent him, the blind, so you knew where the blind is. You walked out in the day. So in the evening, like the evening hunt, we got out there about 4:00 is when I dropped you off.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, okay, hey, crawl under this fence, go over to that tree, and just take your time. Did you take your time walking in?
Yeah, I took my time. I mean, Honestly, I had a bit of trouble trying to find the blind. Like, I saw the feeder, I was like, yeah, but where's the blind? And then I looked a
Because it
little,
was camoed.
yeah, I looked a little to my left, and I was like, oh, there it is.
Okay, so it was easy to find.
It was
relatively.
somewhat easy to find.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm glad you saw it. Did you see any deer walking in?
No, I did not.
Perfect. Like, that's exactly how you want it to be. So he found his way into the blind. And, the beautiful thing about, the day the day and age we live in is that we have the ability to text and to communicate with cell phones. As much as I hate them, because I think it takes a lot of attention, off what's happening in front of you and around you in nature, there is a big benefit to them.
Right.
Aside from playing games, right?
I didn't do that.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Really?
Nah, there's not really a point to, so.
Well, he has like an iPhone like 6 or something like it's like one of the oldest iPhones I think I've ever seen.
It's an iPhone 12, I mean.
Are you sure it's a 12?
Yes, it is.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I thought it was like older than that. But it's slowly like draining battery like quicker, and like it's just an old phone.
Yeah.
So I drop him off, and he finds a stand, and I'm sitting there, and I'm about 2.5 miles away, sitting with my youngest son, Knox. And, we're texting back and forth and having some good conversation. Because I'm seeing the same deer that you were seeing a couple days before, all the 8 does.
Yeah, the 8 does, yeah.
Like the disco party, I guess is what.
Yeah, I call it the mom party, since there were like some fawn too, just some baby deer there too, and they're all just eating together. And I thought, oh, it's a mom party, so they're just
That's funny. It was
Yeah.
a mom party. So he goes, and he's seeing deer like really quick, and so he texts me. And then it was about, I guess it was like 6 o'clock or so, right?
yeah,
So it was about 6 o'clock or so, maybe a little bit before that I sent him a text, and then I sent him another text with no response. And I thought,
that was later. It was like near 6:30, I think.
Okay.
Maybe a bit later, but
6:20, I think it was.
Yeah.
So like I sent him a message, and then I sent him another one, and nothing, no response. And that's kind of typical, because I'm like, oh, well, maybe his phone's getting drained, or maybe he's got deer right beside him and he's just trying to be quiet and really focus in. And so I don't think a whole lot of it. Like, I don't know what's happening over with you. I can check a Life 360 app, which we have on our phones, that kind of connects us all, and we can kind of see where each other's at. And I didn't think about to check that. I don't know why. I just don't think to check that.
yeah.
So nightfall starts to happen, and I said, hey, where you at? I can come pick you up or meet you in camp, because camp really was only 300 yards away. And so I kind of thought, he'd beat us back to camp. Well, I shined my lights, and I hadn't gotten any text messages, and I shined my lights on camp. He wasn't there. Shined my lights through the field. He wasn't walking this way. So I thought, well, I'll go exactly where I dropped you off. And I waited, and I kind of climbed up over the barbed wire fence, and I kind of looked into the field way off in the distance, and I thought I saw a light. I could have swore it was like a flashlight walking towards us, and I was like, okay, he's coming. He's on his way. And that ended up not being the case, because I waited there about 10, 15 minutes and nothing. Thankfully, it was a beautiful evening. The wind was blowing a little bit from the south, and I waited. And I was like, well, he really should have been here by now. So what's going on? And so I pull out the Life 360 app, and it says he's in the blind. So it says he's in the blind. And I'm like, well, I guess he thinks I'm going to pick him up in the blind. I was like, okay, I guess I will. So I set out with just my phone, because that's what I had that I was looking at then. I was like, okay. So I tell my youngest, hey, stay in the truck. I'm going to go pick up Jett, and I'll be right back. I'm going to let you pick it up from there.
All right. So
start when you started getting all the text messages that you weren't answering.
Okay. So around that point, there was actually a doe that was there. During like 6:20, a doe was there, and it was like a whole standoff that we had. Like, she was like snorting and like stamping her feet, and she was I could tell she knew I was there, but she was like, is this thing dangerous? Or so I had to just sit there and do nothing because all I could do was look at your messages from my watch, and I couldn't really do anything. I couldn't answer. Yeah, but eventually she went back to eating. We had a few more shorter standoffs. And then thing is that for the past whole week, I've seen nothing but does. Right. We talked about that doe party the day, and then pretty much the same was happening. 5 does were here. And the thing about me is that I am picky when it gets to deer.
You are. You are very picky.
I would admit it's a fault in my hunting because I could just.
Well, it's not your fault because you have more to choose from out there where we hunt, and that's good to be picky.
But still
you have
still
your standards.
Picky. Yeah, I have my standards, but yeah, I was pretty much just saying it's just gotta be a bunch of does together. I'll probably head out soon. And then I looked and I thought I saw a buck, and I was like, oh shoot, is this a buck? And I looked in my scope, and yeah, it was a buck. And I was like, and this was the first time I saw a buck all trip.
Yeah,
and I was
first one.
Extremely excited because, and it was pretty big. It was decently sized too, and I'll admit it. I got excited. Like I was really just craving shooting that deer and just bringing home a good one, and like I was excited. Yeah. So I think I believe I rushed the shot, and I shot, and the deer ran off from my right, and then turned around and limped off to the west over a
That
ledge.
was to the north.
Wait, why did I say west?
No.
I meant left.
Yeah.
I meant left. My bad.
Right. So it headed off kind of northeast, like
northeast. Yeah. So then all that adrenaline, I just saw it run off into the distance.
Limp off. It was a very labored run.
Limping, running, but, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I had to get him. I had to get him. So the first thing I did was grab my gun and go. Mm-hmm. Important thing, gun and go. Nothing else, gun and go. The only, and I ended up like just trying to trace him down, and I felt like that was possibly the most exciting part of my hunting career. Really? Even like it was exciting. Like just I was searching for this deer, looking everywhere, and I heard its snorts, which in my mind, in my adrenaline mind, must mean it's bleeding out and it's dying, and I'm going to finish it off. Yeah. Yep. And I was tracing it somewhere. Thing is that I was kind of going in a zigzag pattern. Okay. I went across a ridge and I ended up on a hill, and I could not find any trace of it. Yeah. Nothing. So I was like, you know what? I probably should get Dad. He'll help me find this deer. I'm heading back. And then I was like, wait a minute. I don't have my phone on me. I came to the conclusion that I either dropped it or left it in the blind. And I was like, I'll just head to the blind. It has to be there. So I was headed my way back over the ridge, down the hill over the ridge, and back where I thought was base. Yeah. I looked around and I noticed that there is no feeder and no blind. And I was like, wait, what? And Then I saw the sun going down, and then I started to that's where my mind started to race. Like, I was like,
You're starting to panic.
I started to panic because I was like, oh, at first I was like, oh, go to the tree line. And then I noticed that there were 4 different tree lines and I didn't know my directions.
Yeah.
I didn't,
Your mind's mush at that point.
yeah, like, I try to keep a composure on the outside, but my mind, it was just everywhere. But thing is, when I was like that, I didn't think it was much. Like, I didn't think my mind was racing. I was like, okay, I need to get to a goal. I need somewhere to go, and I know if I just walk, well, I didn't really walk in a straight line at that point, but so I was like, go to the tree line. The tree line, there's a fence somewhere. It might be the wrong fence, but just keep going across the edge and you'll eventually come across somewhere you'll recognize. I went over the tree, a tree line, and down, and when I went up, it was like over a hill, another ridge, and another tree line.
Yep.
That's when I freaked out, actually, because I realized, oh shoot, I might not be, I'm lost. I was like, I'm genuinely lost. And then I was like, I ended up just walking in circles a few times because I was like, oh shoot, what am I gonna do? And then I saw lights over a hill, or what I thought was, and I was like, that's probably the truck. They're probably looking for me right now. So I'm gonna walk to there. Those were city lights. I think it was Hollis, right? Yeah, but I was walking there. I was just on my way there, and I was like, oh my gosh, this, I'm pretty sure these might be city lights, but I can't risk it. If I was like, eventually I'll have to hit a fence. Wasn't it like 120 acres, 1,200?
1,200 acres. Yeah, that is the spot of property that you were on.
I wasn't hitting a fence anytime soon.
No, you weren't. So backing up, and from my perspective, while he's kind of out lost in the field, and I have a flashlight on my phone, which is not a flashlight. That is not a searchlight. And I'll get to the lessons learned after this. So from my point of view, I look at Life 360 and it says you're in the blind. So that's why I just went, because I'm just picking up Jett and I'm just picking him up to come in. And so, it's dark by this time. It is dark 30. And this overcast, we had a full moon for a couple of days. But there was cloud cover and there was wind. And so there was no moon. And so I'm just walking to get Jett out of the blind, and like the most terrifying thing for me to happen. There's a couple of things. First is walking up on a blind where you think your son is in there and finding nothing, except a bag, his knife, his cookies,
Yes.
and his phone, and thinking, oh my gosh, what has happened? And so, your mind does start to race. Like, what happened here? And so I called a buddy, I called Josh Ward, and I said, hey dude, Jett's missing. He's got his gun. I have no clue where he is. He has no flashlight. He has no phone. Get to me quick. In that moment, my mind was racing too. And so I decided, you know what? Go back to the blind. Look what happened. Maybe there's something there that will tell me the story. So I looked down and there was an extra shell casing in that blind that I knew. I was like, okay, he shot something. If he was going to shoot it, it was going to be at the feeder. It was going to be due east of my position. And so I go to the feeder. And then from that point, I'm like, okay, he's probably tracking a deer. He probably got turned around. He's probably lost. So anytime I see a deer run out of that place, or they get bumped, or they get spooked, or anything like that, they either go north or they go northeast. That's the two, and I should have probably told you that. But that's the direction they go. And so in my mind, I was like, you know what? I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to start walking that way. And man, the wind was blowing so hard. Like, I was yelling at the top of my lungs. I was starting to get hoarse. Because that'll get your heart racing. That'll get you panicked.
to be able to like call out into the night, into terrain that he's unfamiliar with. I know that place like the back of my hand, and I know how dangerous it can be. I've been lost out there before, right? You know, because so I've like, this happens to everybody. You shouldn't be ashamed, or you shouldn't like hang your head about this, because this stuff happens. But finally, I caught his voice, and you know, he's got a deep bass in his voice, and you know, when he's calling out, man, it sounds like you're wounded. And so I thought you were hurt. I really did think.
Yeah, choice words, guys. I was yelling, "Help! Anybody! Somebody help!" But I should have been saying, "Here, over here, I'm here." But I decided to yell help because I thought that would get people's attention.
Yeah,
so.
and you're right. You're right. In certain instances, help may be appropriate. But man, it just sounded like he was hurt, like he may have fallen down a crack. And, you know, I felt woefully underprepared because I didn't have a big searchlight. That's going to change. You know, and I didn't have a way to like communicate direction to him besides my voice, and the wind was carrying my voice to him. So I was just hoping he was walking to me. So I started like really double timing it to you.
Yeah, you were yelling, walk to my voice. And thing is that I was mad because I was mad at myself because I got lost, and in my mind, I lost that deer too. Yeah. I was lost, and that deer was probably lost, and I was not happy. It did not help that two things also happened. One is that I tripped on a cactus, and like I'm pretty, and I cut up. So I cut up my hand pretty badly, and I was like, another thing is that I saw your truck lights and your searchlights, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're here. Because instead of walking to the city lights, I was like, screw this, I'm turning around. It was actually right after the cactus fall where I noticed your lights, and I was like, finally, I found them. But then they turned off.
Well, because I was going down those same dips that you were.
Yeah, and I thought the truck light went off too, and I was like, no, they left me. And I got so mad, actually.
And that's like, you're going through some wild stages.
Yeah. But then but Dad was yelling, walk to my voice. And I was like, and I just yelled back, I'm doing that.
Yeah, I could tell he was frustrated with himself, and he had a pretty traumatic experience with that. And
traumatic.
No, I mean, what time in your life have you been without Mom or I within the vicinity? You've lived very close relationship to us. We've always known where you're at, and that's one of the more terrifying things I've ever been through. And it was only, you probably got lost probably right around 6:30, and we found you about right around 8:40 or so, almost 9 o'clock. And you were 3/4 of a mile heading in the opposite way from the blind. So you were a long way away. And that's probably, I think we figured out that he walked nearly, 5 miles?
I checked my watch, which tracks
movement and all that.
6.2 miles.
6.2 miles, and that includes some of the day, but you didn't walk that far that day. So you covered a lot of ground.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna tie this up, and we're gonna kind of close this out real quick because my camera's about to shut off. Lessons learned. From my point of view, sending him in and with a little bit more knowledge about hey, you're not going to run a deer down. It's best to back out. It's best to wait, get a whole search party there. We'll go all out together. That's on me. Having whistles, give them all whistles, like anyone you go with, just in case something like this happens and you're not screaming and yelling your voice, and it'll carry a little bit better. And it'll cut through that wind really easy, and you don't have to exert a lot of energy. Go in with the right tools is mine. From my point of view, I should have had a couple flashlights on me just in case, or you know, that's really what I would have taken, a better flashlight or indicate, or before I leave, you know, turn my truck headlights towards the direction of the blind and where he's at. But again, I could have swore I was just going in to, hey, come with me. We'll leave together, instead of having to search for you. What were some of your lessons?
Definitely bring your stuff. I did not bring anything, and it would have been a much shorter and much less scary story if I just brought my dang phone.
I know.
Like, that's like the one, if I would have brought in anything, I should have brought in that. Like, it's like, it had a tracker about,
Yeah.
you know.
You had a compass.
I didn't even have a compass.
On your phone?
On my phone. But the only thing I brought was my gun.
Yeah.
And my
binos.
And my binos, yeah.
Yeah, and that's, you know, and really kind of communicate. I think is another lesson for you. Hey, there's a deer down. I'm going to look for it. And at that point, I probably would have said, hey, I'm coming right now. And communication is big when you're hunting and you're hunting apart from each other. So keep some of these lessons in mind when you're taking youth out. And Jett, like, I know you're mad at yourself. I know you'll never forget some of these lessons. I'm glad I found him. Like, man, I gave him the biggest hug. I was more happy about it. He was kind of mad about it. I know you were mad about it because you really wanted that deer, but the good news is that we got another hunt coming up.
Yeah. I'm excited about that. Also, if you're lost, just stay put. Like, once you realize you're lost, just please stay put. Because I'm sure if you're in there in the wilderness, in the dark, you don't know your way, you're not gonna be that lucky, at least for me. I would just recommend staying put, because
that's a great idea.
I was probably somewhat close to the feeder, but
you were a long way away. He was a long way away.
What an interview. It's one of those things you don't think about that often, is, your kid's somewhere and they're not there. And then all of a sudden when it hits, it becomes reality. And I just want this to be a cautionary tale for those headed out with their kids this season and hunting on their own. Just make sure they're prepared mentally and physically to endure something like this, because all we've got is our mind, our body, and the tools we carry with us in the field. So make sure they're prepared as they go out on their own. That's it for me, KJ at Gun Talk Hunt. Remember, this time more than ever, and all year round, keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.